What if I told you that the legendary Motörhead frontman Lemmy Kilmister didn't just dislike certain bands, he despised them? We're talking about brutal insults, unapologetic rants, and public callouts that left fans stunned. From glam metal giants to soft rock superstars, Lemmy had no problem tearing them apart, and wait until you hear the shocking things he said about Metallica. Stick with me, because this list is going to make you see some of your favorite bands in a completely different light. If there was one thing Lemmy was known for, besides that gravelly voice, whiskey-fueled lifestyle, and unstoppable rock and roll spirit, it was his brutal honesty. He never sugar-coated, never played nice for the cameras. If a band rubbed him the wrong way, he said it, loudly, publicly, and without regret. And that's exactly what made him one of the most authentic figures in rock history. So, which bands did Lemmy absolutely hate? Let's dive in. When it came to glam metal, Lemmy had zero patience. To him, bands like Mötley Crüe were all style, no substance, big hair, flashy outfits, makeup, and theatrics that had nothing to do with real music. He once mocked the glam metal look by saying long hair at least hid the lumps on your head, but teased hair and leather-laced costumes? Pure comedy to Lemmy. But here's the twist: while he openly ridiculed Mötley Crüe's music, he actually got along with bassist Nikki Sixx. In fact, Nikki openly admired Lemmy's authenticity and credited Motörhead as an influence. Still, that didn't stop Lemmy from calling Mötley Crüe posers, musicians more interested in image and debauchery than the raw, no-nonsense rock that Motörhead lived for. Cliffhanger: but if you think Lemmy's problem with glam metal was bad, wait until you hear what he said about a band of self-proclaimed warriors of metal. Now this one really got under Lemmy's skin. Manowar built their brand around swords, leather, and Viking cosplay, declaring themselves the defenders of true metal. Fans loved their epic, fantasy-driven lyrics. But Lemmy? He thought they were a complete joke. In interviews, he mocked their larger-than-life personas, saying real rock and roll didn't need costumes or medieval gimmicks. To Lemmy, music should be raw, honest, and powerful, not an over-the-top stage production with fake heroics. And here's the kicker: while Motörhead was also loud, Lemmy never turned volume into a publicity stunt. Manowar, on the other hand, bragged about being the loudest band in the world, even putting it in the Guinness Book of Records. Lemmy thought that was ridiculous. Loudness, he said, was natural, not something to brag about. Cliffhanger: but if Manowar's theatrics annoyed him, another band made Lemmy furious for being the exact opposite: too polished, too safe, and far too commercial. Lemmy once famously said, "I could write better songs than Bon Jovi in my sleep, without sounding like a wimp." That single line summed up everything he thought about the band. While Bon Jovi filled arenas with sing-along anthems like "Livin' on a Prayer," Lemmy saw them as watered-down, radio-friendly fluff. Where Motörhead wrote about speed, war, and life on the edge, Bon Jovi wrote about love, hope, and perseverance, things Lemmy thought belonged more in pop than rock. He couldn't stand how polished they looked either: big hair, glossy videos, MTV-approved rock stars. To Lemmy, they represented everything wrong with mainstream rock in the 1980s: calculated, polished, and safe. Cliffhanger: but believe it or not, Lemmy's harshest disappointment wasn't with a glam or pop band, it was with one of his closest allies in metal history, Metallica. This one hurts. Lemmy loved Metallica. He inspired them, mentored them, and even appeared in their documentaries. Early Metallica albums like Kill 'Em All and Master of Puppets were exactly what Lemmy respected: fast, aggressive, uncompromising. But when the band released Load and Reload, everything changed. Metallica slowed down, polished their sound, and leaned into bluesy hard rock instead of thrash. Many fans felt betrayed, and Lemmy agreed. He never disowned Metallica, but he didn't hide his disappointment either. He thought they'd lost the raw edge that made them legendary, trading danger for mainstream appeal. And while his criticism stung, it came from a place of deep respect. He knew they were capable of more. Cliffhanger: and yet, even Lemmy's complex feelings about Metallica couldn't match the pure hatred he reserved for one of the softest rock bands of all time. If there was one band that symbolized everything Lemmy stood against, it was the Eagles. With smooth harmonies, soft acoustic guitar, and radio-friendly hits like Hotel California, The Eagles were the soundtrack of polished California rock. To Lemmy, that wasn't rock and roll. That was dinner party background music, safe, soulless, and completely stripped of rebellion. He hated that their music dominated the airwaves while bands like Motörhead stayed underground, clawing for every fan. The Eagles represented corporate rock at its peak, commercial, polished, and built for mass consumption, and Lemmy wanted nothing to do with it. At the end of the day, Lemmy's hatred for these bands wasn't personal, it was about what they represented. He lived and died by authenticity. To him, real rock was dangerous, raw, and untamed. Anything less? A betrayal of the spirit he dedicated his life to defending. And maybe that's why fans still love Lemmy so fiercely today. He never compromised. He never sold out. He said what others were afraid to say. So now it's your turn. Do you agree with Lemmy's brutal opinions? Were these bands truly posers and sellouts? Or was Lemmy being too harsh? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button if you love real rock and roll. And subscribe for more untold stories from music's wildest legends. Because if there's one thing Lemmy taught us, it's this: rock and roll should never be safe.